Moving on to the resolutions. We're going to start this afternoon with 2022-1001. That is to be presented by Commissioner Josh Gillum. Commissioner Gillum would like to discuss that.
Absolutely. Do I need to read the resolution?
No, you don't have to.
I'll ask the folks from Camp Hope in East Tennessee to please come forward. I'd like to recognize them and let them make their presentation to the committee.
Sure, we'd like to invite you to come, and please, please stick to the 3-minute time frame first. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. I'd like to thank you again for allowing us to be here. I do have some information for you guys.
What's your name, please?
I'm sorry, my name is Craig Otto. I'm the Director of Camp Hope. Those are for those that weren't here. We did get to present to you guys last month about a resolution for some baby doe funding for Camp Hope in East Tennessee, and I wanted to come before you today just to speak on behalf of that. I've been fortunate to be involved with Camp Hope since its inception in 2011 and have our first free summer camp in 2012. It's easy for me to make that correlation between the baby doe funding and Camp Hope from the experiences I've had at camp for the last 10 years. That I could understand how maybe some of you might have some questions about that and some other things that might come up. So I'm here to answer any of those questions. But we directly provide a free summer camp for the kids of Hawkins County and the surrounding counties, and we have for the past 10 years. This last year, we had over 700 kids come and attend the camp, our camp at Camp Hope. And many of those kids come from homes that have been affected by the drug abuse and drug addiction in our county and the counties surrounding our county. We don't discriminate any kid who comes to camp, no matter their social or economic background. Our mission that we were put forth in front of us is to provide a free summer camp, and beyond that, free facility for other churches, other organizations to use, to provide a place for kids to come and to be loved on, learn leadership skills, and most importantly, learn about Jesus Christ. We've seen kids come through that facility that have arrived with nothing but a trash bag. We've seen kids that come with absolutely nothing, and we feed those kids 3 meals a day while they're there at camp. And we have seen the impact that being able to provide a free summer camp has had on those kids throughout the years. We are in our 10th year. Next year we are 11th year. And on top of that, we've seen some of those kids that have been affected by drug abuse, sexual abuse, and those things that are so prevalent in our county, come to become counselors in our camp and come to be active citizens in our community. One such person that comes to mind was a young girl that has been an intern for us for the last 2 years. Her name is Taylor Miller. Both her parents are addicted to drugs and alcohol, and she is, with the help of Camp Hope and many other good organizations in our community, has been able to overcome that family cycle. And she is graduating from college, and she's working in a church environment, ministering to young kids herself. But I do want to thank you. If you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
So while Mr. Otto is at the front, does anyone have any questions for him?
I do. Is your position paid or voluntary?
We don't have any paid administrative staff at Camp Hope. We're a volunteer-based organization, so we don't have any paid administrative staff.
So if we vote to give you X amount of money, are you willing to provide us financial records in the future?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Good, Paul.
Are there any other questions from the community? Go ahead, Ms. Blunt.
I got a couple of questions that have been brought to me, because this has been out in the public. One of the things, and I've had a child that's went to your camp, so
Yeah.
I'm very, very impressed with what you all do up there. But, the baby doe money is to try to get people off of opioids, any kind of drugs that they're on. And one of the things that, it's great that 150 kids go to the camp, during the summertime. But, those kids gotta go back home to those parents.
Absolutely.
And if we don't do something to stop the parents, then we're not doing anything for those kids. It's a great thing that you all are doing. They're there for a week, they have a wonderful week, or they have a wonderful month, or they have a wonderful 2 weeks. But then they gotta go back home to those parents. And if they confide in you, and then you do something about the parents, they still gotta be with those parents. And who's protecting those kids during that time? And I guess what I'm looking at is trying to figure out what do we need to do to take care of the parents before, or the kids are never gonna get taken care of.
Yeah, I understand that. Is it okay if I speak on that?
Yeah.
So our vision behind Camp Hope when it first started was that a young person would come to camp for 1 year. And yes, obviously, we have a week with them. We can mentor them and help them to learn leadership skills. But most importantly, we can love on them and show them hope. But what our desire would be that child would be able to come back the next year, and the next year, and the next year. And we have actually got to see the fruits of that up until, we've been there 10 years now. So we have seen these kids, and that's why I spoke to you about Taylor Miller. We've seen these kids that have come through camp. And yes, we can't, even, I think DCS will tell you, we can't just remove them from the home and know that everything's going to be okay. Eventually, they're, more than likely going to end up back with those parents. But what we can do is show them a different way of life and try to help break that family cycle, so that when they are old enough to make their own decisions, that they decide a different path. And so we have seen the fruits of that labor now, because we have been doing this for 10 years. And we have had campers that have become interns that we have seen now that are enlisted in the military and becoming chaplains. We have campers that have become interns that we see now that are leading youth groups and those kind of things. So Camp Hope is not the only avenue for that. We're God has more to do with that than we do, but we can be a tool that he uses to help provide those things.
Well, once again, the Baby Dope Fund is to alleviate drug addiction.
Yeah.
And I guess what I'm looking at is how we're gonna do that, with the camp. And like I said, I think you got a wonderful thing going
I
on.
understand.
And I just have a lot of questions, are we using the money for what it was designated to be used for? And I think that one of the things that, that we're looking at is, we got a lot of asks for this money. A lot of different directions that people are going to use that. And, how are we gonna get people somewhere to get them off the drugs so that we can keep these children safe forever? They gotta grow up, and until they grow up, they're gonna be in that home. That's mine.
I'm sorry. Did I speak, Mr. Chairman? So, to your point, Commissioner Barker, I thought about that, exactly what you just said before introducing this resolution. And, I'll tell you, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Right, or a pound of, I don't know, I got the saying wrong. You know what I mean, right? Prevention costs less than treatment afterwards. And addiction is often generational, right? And if we impact children that are in addicted homes and we impact them, that becomes a generational impact. And it's much more cost effective to spend money to prevent more people from becoming addicted than it is to wait for them to become addicted and treat them later. That's absolutely a much more cost-effective way. And it's not the only way. We've invested money in the Carter County facility, right, that's going to treat folks. We've invested money in the Isaiah House that is going after children in much similar way that Camp Hope is doing. So with that same mindset, so that would be, as the sponsor of this resolution, what I would say to that is that this is a different way of looking at fighting the opioid epidemic, and a much more cost-effective way to do it, along with doing some other things. It can't be the only thing, of course, but I do believe that this is one way that will help.
And I guess in reply to that, Commissioner Gilman, is this money's for abatement of drug addiction. And I guess what I'm looking at that is, we did do the money for the Isaiah House, so we're duplicating services.
I think it would be money well spent, Commissioner Barker.
Cameron, do you still have something? Did you still have something to say?
Oh, yes, I can actually speak to Mrs. Barker's question a little bit. From more of a legal standpoint, if we need to draw kind of a line in the legal
I'm
standpoint.
sorry, ma'am, before you, can you tell us who you are?
Oh, I'm Dr. Emily Morley, sorry. I'm here with Camp Hope as well.
Emily Morley, Emily
But
Morley.
if we need to kind of address a legal position here, it kind of, you have to go through a little bit of juvenile procedure to understand how this is for abatement of abuse, right? So when kids come to camp, they do confide in us. We hear about being in homes with drug abuse, various forms of abuse. And of course, the legal definition of abuse and neglect under the Tennessee Code does include being in a home where the parents are abusing drugs. So when they confide in us, we do contact DCS, and DCS initiates an investigation. When they find that those claims are substantiated, the child is removed from the home, placed in foster care, and from that point, there are various proceedings in the juvenile court in Hawkins County to determine a plan of action to rehabilitate the family. Of course, the ultimate goal is reunification, but there are steps put in place to rehabilitate the parents from that drug abuse. So it's not necessarily this child is constantly going to be in this drug abuse-filled home, but there are things that can be done to rehabilitate the parents and reunify the family that way. So that was my brief course in
And I
juvenile
totally
law.
understand that, because
Yes.
I'm living that life right now.
Yes, I understand, so.
Yeah, so I totally understand that. I guess the other thing is, you know, y'all are asking for $250,000, and I'm looking at how are you gonna, you know, what's your plan? I don't have a plan for you all of how you're gonna do that. And I guess that's the other thing. I mean, I looked at what you presented, you know, and once again, don't get me wrong, I think what y'all are doing is fabulous. I think what you're doing for the kids are fabulous. But, you know, we've got a one shot to do something.
Yeah,
And if we lose this money, our shot's gone.
I agree.
And if what we're doing is not to take care of the situation, then, you know, we're not gonna have this opportunity again.
Obviously, our first meeting that we were coming here, we had 3 minutes to try to kind of explain, you know, what we are and what we're about and what we want to do. And that's not a lot of times kind of, I have lots of dreams and visions, and so does Camp Hope. But we have acquired the New Canton Community Center, which is the old New Canton School building. It used to be a special ed school, a segregated school. It's in real bad shape. But we actually partnered with them several years ago, and we raised enough money to put a roof over the gymnasium, and we would like to put a roof over the rest of the building. I mean, I can talk to you about a lot of dreams, and I don't want to overwhelm you, but we have dreams of after-school programs in that building. We have dreams of doing bus ministry out of that building. And then also, we have a waiting list every year. So last year, we do all our registration online. So when we opened up our camps to be, filled up online, in the first 48 hours, we had 750 spots available. In the first 48 hours, we had 948 kids wanting to come to camp. What that means is that we had 200 kids that didn't get to come to camp last year that wanted to. Out of those 200 kids, how many of those kids had parents that were in a bad situation? Me and you will never know that, but what I do know is those 200 kids wanted to come to camp, and what opportunity did we miss there? So we do also have plans of expanding our facility to be able to house more kids, so some of the appropriations would go to that as well.
Mr. Chairman, go ahead. Quick, Rado, again, I echo Ms. Parker's, statement. I've been up there to Camp Hope as a youth and as an adult. A couple things I've got a question about, and this is people from my district and my community. And what you mentioned there's no administrative role that's paid, correct?
Yes.
You've got in your budget right here, intern payroll, $85,000. Is that all interns, or is that?
That is all for our counselors that we pay for the summer. So we do an intern program where college students, 18 to 25-year-olds, we interview them, they go through training, and we hire them to be our counselors for the summer. Most of those interns, or all of those interns they come from all over. We promote in Hawkins County, we try to get kids from Hawkins County, but they come from all over. And those are our counselors for the summer. They're the ones that live with the kids in the cabins, eat every meal with the kids. And we used to do that on a volunteer basis, but it got real hard to get like grown-ups to come in and sleep in the cabin with a bunch of kids and, teach them and all those things. So we did open that intern program up in 2017, I believe, and we hire 30 to 45 college students every year to be our counselors at camp.
All right, the second question I have, again, like Ms. Barker said, we're looking to put this money toward, how we can help.
Yeah.
Other than reporting, Ms. Morley said to report to DCS, any concerns, and during the summer, do you all have any programs that are, all year long, or do you work with DCS to rehome and give a safe environment while they're waiting, for a permanent or temporary housing?
We've actually had phone conversations with that's what the name says. But we're talking with her, working with her towards a plan for those kind of things. Listen, we're in 10 years, and that does sound like a long time, but over those 10 years, we've been developing, and we are always looking for new avenues to help serve our community. We hosted field trips for the public school free of charge. We hosted Easter egg hunts. Everything that we've ever done up there, we have never charged for anything. What we want to do is we want to be a safe place for the kids in our community. So
currently you do not have any,
not anything year round, but that is one of our goals as the camp.
or anything to rehome kids in the meantime?
No.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes, sir, Mr. Carter.
Mr. Craig, I have a question also concerning what time element do you have in your camp?
We went through this.
When?
We went through the summer months. We pretty much start when school gets out, first week of June, and we run to the first week of August when school goes back.
How big an area do you service with your camp people? You said you had 750 already.
This year we held 7 week-long camp experiences, and it's about 100 kids per overnight camp, and then we do day camps as well, and they serves 150 kids per day camps.
I'm familiar with more, private camps, and the reason I asked that question is what percentage of your people are local people? Do you know that? Or?
We do. We keep a pretty solid database of who registers, and we get quite a bit of information from those families because we do try to do some follow-up with those families. And that's just part of the ministry that we do. We want to check in on those kids after they leave camp and those kind of things. But I will tell you that we don't discriminate because it's a first come, first served basis. And there is kids that will come from Sullivan County, Greene County. Most of them are from our immediate area, but the overall majority are from Hawkins.
I'm glad to hear that. The other thing, I had a phone call concerning this, more than one call, and I was told that probably you're looking at working with the children's DHS people and all,
Yes.
to be the ex-Texas kids.
And in the
Are you at that point now?
Yes, we're at that point now, and also I'd like to bring up the fact that in the years past, we have worked with the Kingswood School for Children in Rutledge and Holston Homes in Greenville. And we've talked to them and DCS about would it be beneficial for us to just do specific camps for kids in foster care or for kids in home group care? And overwhelmingly the voice is no, because these kids want to feel like they're just as normal as everybody else. So they encourage us to continue to work with them to put their kids into the camps where all the kids can come, because they want those kids to have some sort of understanding.
In my mind, I am not settled at the moment that we have a good clear-cut plan of this. And I know that you're working on some things for the future, but I would like to know at what point that this is going to become available.
Okay.
And I thank you for your time too.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Chairman, for the record, yes, sir. I don't have any comments or questions for Craig specifically, but I just want to mention a few things and make sure the committee was aware before we discuss any part of the resolutions. Currently in this packet, you have 2 resolutions pending for baby doll money. You also have several other people here today to speak, asking for baby doll money. Presently, we've already obligated $1 million of this money. It was only 1.65 million to begin with. So we have more requests currently even in this packet than we have money to give out. So I just want to make sure the commission is aware of that before we're taking votes for consideration in these resolutions. You cannot approve both 2022-10-01 and 03 because you do not have sufficient money in their current state. So we'll make sure the commission is aware of that.
And I just want to add to that, the sheet that I passed out has an error in calculations in it. It shows the total we've committed so far is $1 million. We've got $650,000 uncommitted of the baby doll funds. The request outstanding of 1.3 million, which would leave us with a balance of a negative 650,000, not the 300 that I have on there. That was my mistake, not Eric's. So I'm going to take the blame for it. But I want to echo what Eric said. You're not going to be able to pass both of these resolutions on to the full commission as they are because we do not have the money in that fund to cover both of them and the ones we're going to speak about.
Any other questions?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am, Ms. Walker.
Where is Carter County, is my question? I mean, in regards to Hawkins County.
Further up northeast.
Okay, so the ladies and gentlemen that's getting out of jail or whatever, that is to go to the opioid recovery center. What's the plan with getting them transported to and from?
Ms. Walker, I think that's a great question. As of right now, we're talking about the whole resolution, but we'd love to give you, yes, ma'am, we'll give you an answer to that a little bit later. We'll get this off the table and we can make the policy. Ms. Riley, I guess I have a couple of questions myself. And I don't think anybody's gonna sit here and say you've got a bad program. We all think you're doing wonderful work. And I think, I don't have any direct connection with Camp Hope. But as many people on the commission have heard me say, I'm probably one of the kids that would have benefited from it as a child. And I'm very grateful for that. I guess the question I have kind of speaks to something that Mr. Palmer hit on just a second ago, is that, are there specific programs, specific, prevention or abstinence programs that are put into place that address the opioid, crisis specifically? And, and I'm gonna tell you, I believe that there's two things in this world that will be the best thing that you can ever do for yourself. And I'm speaking this personally, but number one is Jesus, number two is education. I believe those two things are the absolute best things that you can ever do in this life. However, we are a government. We manage local tax dollars. And one of my concerns is, when we looked at the Isaiah 117 house, the one thing that I was a little bit concerned about was, are we allocating tax money, government tax money, to a religious entity? And at the end of the day, I came down on that their mission was such that they're working with the state agency. They already have those things in place. Kids are brought from DCS directly to Isaiah 117 house for the purpose of housing them temporarily until more permanent placements available. Okay, so that I was able to vote yes because I wrestled with that. I love your mission. My concern, however, is that if we allocate money to an organization whose mission is ministry and whose focus is evangelism, and this is probably a question for our attorney, but does that open us up for liability? Because, as you know, public tax funds have to be regulated very specifically. And what I would love to see is that the local churches in Hawkins County and Sullivan County would give you all every dollar that you need, so that you can do every single thing you need to do and do it in the name of the Lord and not have to worry about it. But I worry about us, and I also, in the future, am a little concerned about the organization in that, if as a religious organization you start taking tax dollars, is that going to limit the use of those tax dollars for your organization? I went to Carson University, and they had to turn down federal tax money to build a cafeteria because they knew they weren't going to be able to have worship services in that cafeteria that the federal tax dollars. See where I'm going? One thing I'm concerned is, will this money limit your activity, and will the allocation of this money put us at a state of liability? That's my concern. I don't think you can answer that right now. That's probably something that I need to talk to our county attorney about. But I wanted to put that out there. I love what you guys do. Right now, I don't really want to say that I'm 100% in favor until I get some questions answered too.
I understand. I also would like to thank you all for just at least hearing us out, you know. I mean, the most important thing to come out of all of this is that you guys know and our community knows what Camp Hope is and what we represent up there and why we do what we do. And, you know, that's a blessing and an honor to me just to be able to present to you guys.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ross. We appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman, I have one thing to do that.
Yes, sir.
Pass this. I also just want to echo some of this. I really do appreciate the work that you guys do. I think it's a great thing. And I do share some of those same concerns Mr. Ross had, but even just to double back on that, we'll be coming up in budget season in May, and I would encourage you to submit your paperwork for the county donations that we do so that, you know, maybe not out of this pot of money, but we can look at other avenues of maybe some way that we could do something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Is there any other concerns or questions at this point?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir, Mr.
So, I want to say, first of all, I do believe in Camp Hope, obviously, and the mission that they do, not only the religious side of it, but the humanitarian work that they do. I work very closely with them and have learned a lot about what they do and how they impact this county. And so it's easier for me to connect the dots, right? I understand that there's people on this committee that are not able to do that as well because there's some questions that need to be answered and maybe there's some concerns. But so with that, I would like to pull this resolution for consideration right now until we can get some answers to that question, to those questions. But I do want, for the record, just to say that I fully support the work that they do, and I do believe that it fits the criteria for baby doll money. I think it would help a lot of kids, help us prevent a lot of kids from falling prey to drug culture. And I think it's unfortunate that we can't pass it today. However, I do want everyone to be comfortable, right? And I respect this committee, I respect everyone on here, and I appreciate you asking the questions and doing your job. And so with that, I'd like to pull this from being considered today.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Dillon. Mr. Otto, thank you so much for coming.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes, sir.
I would like to invite you guys to come to Camp Hope, check us out, we'll give you a tour and show you what we got going on.
And go to the corn maze that's going on.
Yeah, we got a corner. Thank you guys.
Yes, sir.